The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. Read the play about how Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson solve the mystery of a blue carbuncle that is found in the gullet of a goose. Characters: Sherlock Holmes, a famous detective. Dr. Watson, a friend and associate of Holmes. Peterson, a hotel employee and friend of Holmes. Henry Baker, a poor elderly man. Windigate, landlord of the Alpha Inn. Breckenridge, a salesman at Covent Garden. James Ryder, head attendant at the Hotel Cosmopolitan in London. Countess of Morcar, the rightful owner of the Blue Carbuncle. Time: Christmas in London of the 1880s. Scene: inside the house of Sherlock Holmes on Baker Street. Watson enters. Sherlock Holmes is lounging on the sofa near a fireplace with a pile of crumpled newspapers near at hand. Besides the couch, on the back of a wooden chair, hangs a very sordid, black, worn-out felt hat. There is a lens and a forceps lying upon the seat of the chair.
Greetings, Holmes.
Eh? Who? Oh, Watson. It's you. Good evening. It's only that I'm profoundly engaged. I am glad to have a friend with whom I can discuss my results. Sit down, Watson.
Thank you.
What do you think of that?
That? The hat hanging on the back of the chair there?
Yes. I've been contemplating it for the last half hour.
It's, a simple hard black hat.
This hat, Watson, is not a battered old hat, but an intellectual problem. It is one of those unusual little incidents. It was at about 4 o'clock on Christmas morning. Peterson, the man who looks after the hotel, was returning home after merrymaking. On Tottenham Court Road, he saw a tallish man, walking with a slight stagger, carrying a white goose slung over his shoulder. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, a group of ruffians attacked this man. They knocked off his hat. The tall man raised his walking stick. The stick hit a shop window behind him. The broken glass fell on the pavement with a loud crash. This frightened the tall man. He dropped the goose and took to his heels. Peterson went towards the ruffians, but they too fled, leaving the goose behind. Perhaps they mistook Peterson to be a policeman because of his uniform.
Oh, what happened next, Holmes?
Peterson gave the goose and the hat to me. A small card was tied to the bird's leg. It read, "For Mrs. Henry Baker." And also I noticed the initials HB on the lining of this hat. But there are hundreds of Henry Bakers in this city. While the hat is here, Peterson is cooking the goose for dinner.
Watson and Holmes are examining the tattered and exceedingly dusty hat when the door is thrown open, and Peterson rushes in, looking dazed.
Mr. Holmes! Oh, it's the goose, sir.
Well, has it returned to life and flapped off through the kitchen window? You're as white as a sheet.
The goose, Mr. Holmes. See, sir, what my wife found in it.
He displayed on his palm a brilliantly scintillating blue stone of such purity and radiance that it twinkled like an electric point.
Watson! Look!
This is a treasure trove indeed, Peterson. Yes, a precious stone, one of the biggest I've ever seen.
It's more than a precious stone, Watson. It's the precious stone. The blue carbuncle.
Great heavens! The Countess of Morcar's?
Precisely. I read about it in the Times. There is a reward of £1,000. It was stolen at the Hotel Cosmopolitan just 5 days ago.
£1,000?
Holmes looks through a few newspapers and pulls out one.
Watson, look at this. It reads, Hotel Cosmopolitan Jewel Robbery. John Horner, 26, plumber, has been charged with having stolen the valuable gem known as the Blue Carbuncle from the jewel case of the Countess of Morcar. James Ryder, upper attendant at the hotel, gave his evidence to the effect that he had shown Horner up to the dressing room of the Countess of Morcar on the day of the robbery. The Countess found it missing from her dressing table. Ryder instantly gave the alarm, and Horner was arrested the same evening. But the stone could not be found.
So here is the stone from the goose. And the goose came from Mr. Henry Baker, the gentleman with the worn-out hat. Now we must set ourselves to finding this gentleman and ascertaining his role in this little mystery. Just give me a pencil and that slip of paper, Peterson.
£1,000? Here, sir.
What are you going to do, Holmes?
Find the owner of this hat. For this, I shall have to give an advertisement in the paper. Found at the corner of Goodge Street, a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can collect it this evening at 221B Baker Street. He is sure to keep an eye on the papers, since the loss is a heavy one. Peterson, run to the advertising agency and have this put in the evening papers. And buy a goose on your way back to give to this gentleman in place of the one your family is now devouring.
Oh, yes, sir. You're going to keep the stone, sir?
Yes, in my strong box. And I'll just drop a note to the Countess to say we found it. Hurry up, Peterson.
In the evening, at 6:30, when Watson returns to Baker Street, there is a tall man waiting outside the door. They go in together.
You are Mr. Henry Baker, I believe? Ah, Watson. You have come at just the right time. Is that your hat, Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir. That is undoubtedly my hat.
We have kept these things for a couple of days, but we cooked the bird. However, we have got another goose, and perfectly fresh.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'm grateful for your kindness.
By the way, where did you get the goose? I have seldom seen a better quality goose.
From the Alpha Inn, near the museum. Mr. Windigate, landlord of the Alpha Inn, runs a goose club for his customers. Each member of the goose club pays Mr. Windigate a few pence every week. Mr. Windigate collects the money week by week, and by Christmas Day, there is enough money to buy a goose for everybody in the club.
Henry Baker left happily, taking the goose.
It's evident that he was innocent. He knows nothing about the carbuncle.
It is a bitter night, but Holmes and Watson walk to the Alpha Inn. They meet Mr. Windigate, the ruddy-faced landlord.
I met Mr. Henry Baker, a member of your goose club. He told us about your excellent geese.
Ah, I see. But, sir, that's not our goose. I got the 24 from a salesman in Covent Garden. Breckenridge is his name.
Thank you.
Walking through many narrow streets, they reach Covent Garden, with many stalls in the marketplace. On one of the stalls, they see the name Breckenridge. A man is closing the shutters of the stall.
Good evening, Mr. Breckenridge. It's a cold night.
Yeah, cold enough. I have sold out all my geese, but I can give you one tomorrow.
I'm afraid we want one tonight.
The landlord of the Alpha Inn, Mr. Windygate, advised me to come to you. He said your geese were incomparable. Where did you get them from?
Now look here. What are you driving at? When I pay good money for a good article, there should be an end of the business. But it's where are the geese? And who did you sell the geese to? And what will you take for the geese? One would think they were the only geese in the world.
I have no connection with any other people you have been making inquiries. But I should like to know who sold you the geese which you supplied to the Alpha. If you won't tell us, I lose a bet. I have a fiver on it that the bird I ate is country bred.
You've lost your fiver then, 'cause it was town bred.
I tell you, it's country bred.
It's town. Here, will you take a bet with me too? A bet for a sovereign?
Oh, yes, I'm cocksure.
This book contains a list of the people who sell me geese. The names in red ink are people who live in London. Read out the third name on the list.
Mrs. Oakshott, 117 Brixton Road, 249.
Now look in the second ledger.
December 22nd, 24 geese at 7 shilling and 6 pence. Sold to Mr. Windygate of the Alpha at 12 shillings. All right, you win, Mr. Breckenridge. There's your sovereign.
Holmes and Watson leave. A few yards away, they stop under a lamppost and laugh.
We found out where the geese came from. Well, Watson, we are nearing the end of our quest, and the only point which remains to be determined is whether we should go on to this Mrs. Oakshott tonight or...
There is a man standing in front of Breckenridge's stall. His name is Ryder.
I've had enough of you and your geese. If you come pestering me anymore, I'll call the police.
Breckenridge rushes forward fiercely, and the inquirer flits away into the darkness.
Let's follow that man, Watson.
They chase the man, and Holmes puts his hand on the man's shoulder. The man springs around, terrified.
Who are you? What do you want?
I could not help overhearing your question to the salesman. I think that I could be of assistance to you regarding a goose that Breckenridge brought from Mrs. Oakshott of Brixton Road.
Who are you then?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. It is my business to know what other people don't know.
But you could know nothing of this.
On the contrary, I know everything. You are endeavouring to trace some geese which were sold by Mrs. Oakshott of Brixton Road to a salesman named Breckenridge, by him in turn to Mr. Windygate of the Alpha, and by him to the club, of which Mr. Henry Baker is a member.
What? Why, you're the very man I've been looking for, Mr. Holmes. Oh, I can hardly tell you how much it means to me.
Watson, be good enough to signal for a four-wheeler, will you?
Yes, certainly. Cabby,
I think, my friend, we'd better discuss this whole matter in some cosy place rather than in the crowded street. We'll go to my room, shall we? Oh, what's your name?
My name's John Robinson.
No, the real name.
James Ryder.
Ah, head attendant at the Hotel Cosmopolitan, I believe.
Yeah.
The little man stepped into the cab with half-frightened, half-hopeful eyes, as one who is not sure whether he is on the verge of a windfall or of a catastrophe. In half an hour, they were at Baker Street.
Here we are. Now, you want to know what became of that goose with a black bar across the tail?
Oh, if you could only tell me, sir, I'd be that grateful. It's mine, sir. It was sold by mistake.
That remarkable bird came here and laid an egg. The bonniest, brightest little blue egg that ever was seen. I have it.
Ryder staggers to his feet. Holmes unlocks his strong box and holds up the blue carbuncle. Ryder stands glaring with uncertainty whether to claim or to disown it.
The game's up, Ryder. I have all the proofs, so there is little which you need tell me.
It was Catherine Cusack, sir. I swear it was her idea.
The Countess's waiting maid, Holmes.
Exactly. And so you invented some excuse to send that unfortunate young Horner into the Countess's hotel room, and after he was gone, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and put the blame onto him.
Yes, sir, I did, sir. Oh, for heaven's sake, have mercy, Mr. Holmes. I never went wrong before. It was Cathy to blame. Please, sir.
Get back into your chair and tell us the true account, for there lies your only hope of safety.
I will tell you just as it happened, sir. When Horner had been arrested, it seemed to be in my best interest to get away with the stone at once, for the police could search my home. I went with it to my sister's house. She's Mrs. Oakshott at Brixton Road, who rears fowls for the market. My sister noticed I was pale, but I told her that I had been upset by the jewel robbery at the hotel. Then I went into the backyard. Looking at the geese waddling about, I got an idea. I got a fine, big white goose with a barred tail and thrust the stone down its throat. I then told my sister to give me one goose for Christmas. But much to my shock, at home, I discovered there was no sign of the stone. I rushed back to my sister's and hurried into the backyard. There was not a bird to be seen there. She said that she had sold them to Breckenridge of Covent Garden. There was another with a barred tail, the same as the one I chose. That's where the mix-up happened. And now I'm branded a thief without having touched the wealth. God help me.
Ah, well, what are you going to do, Holmes?
I'm not quite sure, but I think all things considered, it might be best to get out, Ryder.
What? You mean? Oh, heaven bless you, Mr. Holmes.
Ryder exits.
Why did you let Ryder go, Holmes?
This man will never steal anything again. He's too frightened. And besides, Watson, it's Christmas. Christmas is a time for kindness and mercy.